Here's how I make cream cheese icing. When I make cream cheese icing, I think I do it differently every single time. I just kind of make it up as I go along, really. In my head, I know the ways that work and don't work. Cream cheese icing is something that I've seen people struggle with a lot. I feel like everyone's messed it up at some point. It can go very liquidy, and when it gets to that point, it's pretty much impossible to get it back to like a nice buttercream consistency. There are a couple of things I've noticed that does prevent this from happening. So number one would be, don't use low fat or light cream cheese. They have a lot more moisture in them, a lot more water, which eventually leads to the icing going runny. Also, I've noticed American cream cheese icing recipes tend not to work with our cream cheese over here in the UK. Their one's a bit more like a block. I think our one has more moisture in, so their one doesn't require as much icing sugar in it to thicken up the buttercream. The last one is over mixing the cream cheese. I don't know how true this one is, but it's one that I've seen pop up quite a bit. When making the cream cheese icing, I tend to stick to two methods. It depends what mood I'm in to what I do, really. It depends what I can be bothered with. The first one is creaming together the butter and cream cheese, and then adding the icing sugar, and then again creaming it until it's nice and fluffy. The second one, which is what I'm doing today, is mixing butter and half the icing sugar, creaming that together until it's nice and fluffy, and then adding in the rest of the icing sugar, the cream cheese, and then mixing that but not for as long. To be honest, is this cream cheese icing the best recipe? Probably not. Is it going to be the cream cheesiest of the cheesiest icings out there? No. I use more butter than cream cheese, so it isn't the most tangy, but this does work for me. I'm using Lidl icing sugar for this. It's less messy, it doesn't form a huge icing sugar cloud. The majority of the time you don't have to sieve it, which I love. To that I'm adding in the vanilla and then the butter. As you can see with the mixer on, there's no huge icing sugar cloud. This is why I love the Lidl icing sugar. But of course it's me, so I'm going to make some mess anyway. So now this is mixing on high. We want this to be nice and fluffy. For me it took about 10 minutes. This is one of those things where it's the longer the better. And as always, it's very important to scrape the sides and the bottoms of the bowl. The stand mixer doesn't quite reach the bottom, so this is very important to do. This does require a bit of patience. As you'll see, I've got a magazine that I'm reading. Mixing it for this length of time is important though. We want it to be light and fluffy. I don't know why, but I convinced myself for quite a long time that I didn't like cream cheese icing. I think I just had it somewhere and it was really, really bad, so that's what I thought all cream cheese icing tasted like. But now I love it, especially with cinnamon rolls. Oh, cinnamon rolls and cream cheese icing is one of my favourite combinations. Now it's time to add in the rest of the icing sugar and the cream cheese. And then I'm going to mix it for about a minute on high speed. We do still need to whip some air into the cream cheese. We don't want a dense buttercream. And now it's done. Now it's time for my least favourite thing to do and scrape the beater. This one is really good for scraping the sides of the bowl, but it's horrible to clean. So that's my cream cheese icing. I find it's a little bit more stable compared to others. It's now ready to use on my gluten-free carrot cake.